So just disclaimer out there, I'm not the best at public speaking, but I will do my best. Okay, so I'm going to divide this into two bits. So once again, I do work at CG Brick, so that is an insurance company in case you don't know. But I'm also going to divide that because my role isn't necessarily in insurance per se. I'm in the risk department of my company. But I'm going to start with insurance. Okay, so how many of you guys know what insurance is? Taking care of something, right? Somebody else handles the problems of everything? Pretty much. So let's see, let me get an age range. How many of you are like 16 and above? 16 and above. How many of you have your driver's license? And I'm assuming if you got your driver's license, you have to have insurance. That's right. Because let's say this, if you get in an accident on the road, right? Your parents might be really mad at you if the car is damaged. And if you don't have insurance, your parents are going to have to pay that. And they're going to be even more mad at you. So insurance helps that, right? So insurance allows, the insurance company will pay for the damages, pretty much, depending on their policy. And here's another example. If you have a home and a big hurricane comes in, Cat 4 hurricane, God forbid, wipes out the entire house. If you don't have home insurance, that money to fix the house is going to have to come out from your own pocket. But with an insurance company, depending on the policy, they should be able to pay for most of it, which is, I guess, a financial save for all of us. But yeah, so oftentimes you'll hear a lot of insurance companies are scammers, they're thieves, but eventually there's a whole process, so you can't really look at it in the mini spectrum, but you have to look at it in a broad spectrum to be like, this is kind of a round thing. Like even if you have a medical emergency and you have to have a surgery that costs like, I don't know, $200,000 or something like that, the medical insurance is going to help you. So anyway, that was a brief thing on insurance, just to show you why insurance is important. Okay, so I'm assuming most of us here are Gen Z, right? Yeah, we're all Gen Z. So one of the things when I was looking for a career, or what I wanted to do in life, it was motivated by salary, because, economically, the world is not doing so great. So money was a big factor. But when I went to the Texas Christian University, I graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics with a concentration in Actuarial Science with minors in Music and Economics. So you'll find out Actuarial Science. Has anybody heard of that before? And some people have heard of it. Okay, well, when I was looking for a career, I had no idea what that was. And I happened to find it because I was on Twitter before Elon Musk. So Twitter, I was scrolling through and they had this one ad that said top paying jobs. And I was like, oh, this is interesting, let me just see. So I opened it and I scrolled down and I saw Actuarial Science and I was like, ooh, science, that's a no. I don't like science. I'm a big math nerd, but I do not like science. But when I read further into it, it was like a mixture of risk, math, I guess accounting and finance and everything all wrapped up in one. And I was like, you know what, I like this. Like, no offense to accounting, but it's just not me. I can't just do one thing. So I like to be able to switch into different fields if I have to. And so I felt like actuarial science would do that for me. So when I went to college, that's what I was pursuing. And there was a time, 2 years after college, I went through a really rough patch. Lost 2 people in my family. It was very hard for me. And during the second part of my sophomore year, I really questioned what I wanted to do. Like, is this career still for me? Like, why do I even like this? Like, all the energy that I had when I first found it and the reasons just kind of went, like, everything was questioning. I was questioning everything. But I just kind of asked God, I'm like, God, if this is not where I'm meant to be, please open the path to where I am supposed to be. And I feel like this is where I'm supposed to be because God kind of narrowed me and moved me back into the path. And this happened in a specific way. So after sophomore year, when I was getting ready to go into junior year, I was not sure how I would be able to go to my university again because I did not have the funds for it. My university was super expensive. Would probably recommend going to a UK university, honestly, for money. But yeah, American universities are very expensive. So by the time I got to my junior year, my tuition increased even more, and I was not sure where I would get the money. And I was like, but I love this school. I made great friends. I got a good Christian community here, good friends to support me. And I was very scared because I was like, I feel like this is where I'm meant to be. Doing this major that I'm still questioning if I really was supposed to be in here. But I felt like God answered that prayer through a scholarship that I received. And this wasn't just any scholarship. Like when I tell you the details of the scholarship, you may think like, is this a coincidence? But it's too much of like perfection to be a coincidence, if that makes sense. So basically this scholarship, it says you had to be either in your junior or senior year, right? Going into my junior year now, I'm like, okay, cool. This sounds good so far. And then the scholarship continued to say, if you're going into insurance, like risk and actuarial science, and that was the key word. And I don't know if you know, but 4 years ago, finding a scholarship in actuarial science, pretty much kind of non-existent. There were some, but most of the scholarships on Island are for accounting, so it was very difficult. But when I saw actuarial science, I was like, okay, is this me? Is this for me? And like, I had like a feeling, I was like, okay, this is for me. So I just applied, and I got the callbacks, I got the interviews, and I was nervous. Interviews in person are very nerve-wracking. But through God's will, I got that scholarship, and that's what allowed me to continue to go to the school that I love, to stay with the friends that I love, to be in the clubs, to make efforts with the clubs that I was involved in. But also, this scholarship not only helped me to stay in the school, but it also helped me to get to the job that I am in now. So the Brit Scholarship popped up at the perfect time when I was crying out. I didn't know where I was gonna go, what I was gonna do, and bam, it showed up. And like whenever I think about it, sometimes it might just like breeze past, but at the same time I think about it, I'm like, that wasn't a coincidence, that was God working, that was God saying, you're supposed to be here. And he was setting me up for the future, a future I never knew at that point. Fast forward, going into senior year. Senior year is very stressful because you are applying for jobs. And the job market is no joke, it's a lot. And I was a little bit behind in the progress, or my actuarial exams. So for actuarial exams, they recommend that you have 2 exams passed in order to get a actuarial analysis, or analyst job, sorry, words. And I didn't have that yet because I was a little bit behind because everything that happened in my life at that time. So I was freaking out. I didn't know where I was gonna get a job, and by the time the second half of senior year came around, I still never knew where I would work, like what I was gonna do with my life. And that was when my scholarship committee, Brit K, reached out to me and said, hey, we have a job opportunity for you. And I said, really? Wow, okay. So I heard them, and it's not, it was the job that I think I needed in order to grow. And I think it's so cool the way it worked out, because CG, Brit K, but it's CG entirely, is the largest insurer in the Caribbean region now. And it's just very cool in my specific position because I'm technically working remotely with the Bermuda team. So that means I'm able to get a broader spectrum of the entire company and just get an overall feel of everything, which I feel like is so much more beneficial for me because I do not like staying cooped up in one place. I am an introvert, so I do love staying in my own little office, and I'm not a huge customer service person, I'm sorry. I dealt with that during the whole pension fiasco during COVID. It was rough. But yes, so currently I am a risk analyst at CG Brit K because of that. And the way the job just worked out, it was almost perfect for me. And I don't know, it's not what I imagined when I was going to college. It's not what I imagined I would be doing, but it's what God laid out for me. And it's something that I'm like, you know what, this is where I'm supposed to be. Because even when I was applying for schools, I didn't know if I wanted to be in Cayman or if I wanted to go abroad. I was like, God, where's the opportunity going to open? Am I going to have to come back to Cayman? At that point, because you're still away, you made your friends, you're used to being away, and you're like, I don't really want to go back to a small island yet. Am I ready? But I think this was God's calling, because even now with our church, I feel like our worship team, being a part of that is such a big thing in my life, and it's kind of opened the doors, opened my eyes to things that I didn't see before. Whether it's in my own spiritual life or just fellowship in Christ in general. But yeah, so it was a really long ramble about kind of my life, but I'm gonna leave on one thing I would say. So in high school, I was a straight A student. So I was used to getting the grades that I wanted, getting the results that I wanted. But things change in college. College is not the same as high school. I always say this, but an 8 a.m. in high school is not the same as an 8 a.m. in college. It's just harder to wake up for some reason. But the same goes for school. Sorry, my mind literally goes all over the place sometimes when I talk. Okay, yes. So the second part of my senior year, I'll be honest, I didn't even know if I was going to be able to graduate. Two of the toughest classes in my life. And it was just, sorry y'all, when you have brain farts, it's a huge thing. Right, okay, this is what I was getting at. Failure was something I wasn't used to, pretty much. And when I went through that rough patch in my life, it became more prevalent. Because I was really hard on myself because of what happened, I dropped down in my grades and I was like, this isn't me. I don't feel like I'm good enough at all at this. And it was a time of accepting that failure is okay. So maybe that is you. And I don't know, if you feel like you need to be perfect, whether it's to match up with your parents' expectations and stuff like that, as long as you're doing your best, that's what's important. So it took me a while to learn that, and it can be really hard because you're your own worst critic. But yeah, that's what I would just say. It's okay to fail. Don't beat yourself up. Don't beat yourself up. As I'm taking exams for my actuarial accreditation, I'm also learning that because the exams are difficult. And if you fail, you just have to get up and try again. Yeah. So thank you for listening to my mini testimony and my rambling words.